Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. Good morning, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We understand that there's a lot of individuals out of office. I have a lot of declined responses for today, kind of like last minute, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. Again, this is our training and support for the Drupal upgrade from Drupal 9 to Drupal 10. This session is being recorded and will be made available to you all after the fact. And we have Brian with us, Brian, our project manager, Brian Cox. He's going to be monitoring the feedback from the chat and also monitoring for questions. Again, my name is Cecilia Henley. Thank you so much for being here. I'm product manager for the Drupal content management solution and for your website solution here. So a little bit of housekeeping. Let me just switch over to my screen over here. We do have our content management solution website. It's the website that we're going to be utilizing to provide a little training today. In addition, we ask that you make space and that you take space. And for accessibility, there is an ellipsis at the top of your display that will allow you to have the transcription for this particular session. And that's all I have so far. Just make sure you capture your questions in the chat so that Brian could address those later on. And also, if you need to raise your hand, feel free to do so as well. We could stop at any point. This, again, is the same training that we have provided in the past 4 sessions. So if this is something that you're already familiar with, feel free to exit. That is totally cool with us. We just want to make sure that we put this information in front of people. So this is our agenda as we are going to go through these items today. So the first thing that we want to do is to make sure that we can authenticate and that you see the differences between the previous and how authentication looks right now. So right here, you will notice that this is the cms.colorado.gov. To log onto your website, what you would do is put / and enter user to access the logging in, and you will land here. I'm already signed in, so it will give me my username. There are some visual indicators that I am signed in. You will see at the top, you still have this administrative menu. You could toggle away from the menu just like we did in Drupal 9. But if you wanted to have your menus present, this is useful if you have a small display and you just want to get rid of these little options, but you could just toggle that back and forth by clicking there. Your shortcut functionality is still available. This came as a question, I think, through partner support. So if there are functions that you execute frequently, like adding media or anything like that, just feel free to customize your navigation, and you could just go ahead and just star the different items that you use a ton. And then here you have your user, and at the corner you have the ability to make edits just by clicking on the pencil. It would just give you all of the things that are editable based on your profile. So I just thought I'll mention that because we haven't covered that in previous sessions. This is where you could log out just by clicking on your user. You can log out here, you can edit your profile, and you can view your profile here, which will take you to your item that we started right here. Okay, so again, you could toggle that administrative menu at the top corner based on the different roles and responsibilities that you have within your organization. You will have different modules at the top. People module remains the same. This is where you can manage all of the users, and you could just make sure that if they have left the organization, you can manage their status right here. Again, operations could be executed here on the very far right, and you could narrow down your search by the status, the role that they play in your organization, or the level of permissions. So this has not changed. This is the least frequent used tab because our teams tend to remain the same for a while until they're not, and then we have to figure out security agreements and all that good stuff. So that is the people module. If we were to look at the content, this is by far the most frequently utilized tab or module. This is where we have our media library. This is where we add content, where we manage the content on the website. So in the previous version in Drupal 9, we had a little drop down that there is a request for our devs to have a look and see if this is something we could bring back, because I know that a lot of feedback came through the partner support queue that they're missing the little drop down that said add menu, add content, and add media. So we're in the works to see if we can add that back. But to access your media library, what you want to do is just click on the module. And once you have clicked on the module, based on how your display is, I have a super wide computer, you will have these folder tabs at the top. Because I'm using my super wide monitor for this class, I will have to click on the ellipses to access the additional folders right here. Right? So the first one, the one that is currently being used, is this content folder. This is a kind of like a folder tab. And from here, you can add content. And from here, you can select if you wanted to add a layout, a landing page, a news article, whatever type of content that you're wanting to add, you will do that here, including your jumbo slides. Okay. So just to circle back, you will click on the actual module. You will click on the folder, the one that is the default is content. Let us say that your one and only thing to do is to add content. You could just make this one of your favorites and it will just add it to your shortcuts up here. And that's how you add things to your shortcuts. That's a little star function right there. And it will give you that confirmation if you needed it. The table remains the same. You could search the content by the title. It will start to, you don't have to enter the entire term. You could just enter test and it will just start to populate from the title field for all of the content that you have added. In the content type, you will notice that there is the new layouts. That is the new content type that we added in Drupal 10. More things will be added as we continue our journey through Drupal 10. If you wanted to look very quickly at all of the items that are published or unpublished, this is a good one to narrow down the pool of content. And then you have the ability to search by the person who authored the content, not necessarily the person who did the most recent update, but the person who authored the content. And this is your authoring column right here. Okay, so it will pull from this data point right here. And I'll show you where the authoring data is. This is the table, so you could sort this by any of these headings right here. That has not changed. One thing that we wanted to just show is that the actions are still going to be here. So all of your actions are the same as they were in Drupal 9. I think there is some feedback in the audio. I'm going to pause to investigate. 1 second, please. I apologize if I muted your microphone, but there was a little bit of feedback. So I muted all of the participants. I think, have we resolved the feedback issue? I'm sorry, I will never mute people, but we were getting a little bit of background.
It sounds good here, Cecilia.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I didn't want to be disrespectful and mute you. It was just that we had some feedback. So moving right along. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Sonia. I see you. All righty. So this is where we're going to look at our content. You could star this, make it one of your favorites. Again, this is just a little bit different because, again, I'm using my super wide screen. If this happens to you, just click on the ellipses, and then you will be able to access all of the different content types. I mean, all of the different folders within your media library. If I wanted to add an image, this is a question that came a lot in partner support, how to do this. You will go to media, and then you will add your media here. You will click on this pill menu, and it will provide you the options of the document, the image, and the video. For the document, it is the same experience. You could browse from your device and you could pull up the file that you want to add. Additionally, you could still have related tags and you could have revision logs. This is very handy when you're just doing regular documents and you wanted to document internally so that people know this is only for internal changes, okay? Now, if I go back home, this is going to take me back to the home page. This little breadcrumb would take me back to the add media. If I wanted to add an image, the alternative text is still here. So after you browse from your device, it will give you the ability to add an image and you will have the alternative text dialog pop up. I do believe this image has already been added for the many trainings that we have done, but this is what it will look like. You can still use this as a feature crop, and then you have the option of doing the hero cropping for the hero row. So we have not lost any of these. Okay. I'm not going to save this image because, again, we do this training a ton of times, and I think this image has already been uploaded. But if you wanted to have related tags like vacations or places that are warm and fuzzy, you could use those as related tags, and those tags are searchable as categories later on. One thing to remember is that you always have to make your images published so that they will display in the CMS, okay? Again, the revision log is still there and you can save the image. Again, I'm gonna click away from it because this image is already in there. And that's basically how we add the media. I'm gonna click back to our agenda to keep us honest and see where we
Hey,
are.
Cecilia.
Yes.
I've got a quick question I just wanted to interject right there since it's relevant. Are we able to modify the size of images here?
No. So what happens with this is that we don't have an editor module within the CMS. What we recommend is that you use a software and you bring your images already sized for better results. Now, with your permission, I'm going to point to a little resource that we have here real quick since it is related. And I want to be very mindful of time because I know we're going to have a ton of questions. But for image size recommendations, we recommend that you review this little document and just see which space are you trying to fill up. Like what is the intent of the image? And then based on those, you will then see what is the smallest width. And if you're doing rows and cards or sections and distributing your rows, you really want to make sure that you review how the image will display. So for Jumbotron, this is the sweet spot is 1920 by 450. If you're doing different displays, just have a look at this document. I will place this in the chat, please, Brian. Remind me to remember this. Perhaps I could put this in the chat now, or I could put it in the chat. We'll circle back to it. But we do have some recommendations here that you have a free software that could help you re-image the pictures because this wasn't designed to, it doesn't have a photo editor module as we have Drupal today. So I hope that answers the question. Do I get a thumbs up or are we still wanting clarity?
Yep, they just want the link for that page in the chat if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just jump to this other screen super quick. So sorry. And we're doing good on time, I hope. All right. All right. So the second item that we wanted to do was just go through that content module because a little things did shift a little bit with D10. But what we want to do is make sure that we can add a basic page because you guys are still working on that particular framework. So let me get back to the CMS and I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. Okay. So we're going to click on the content module. And in the content, I'm going to click on add content. And from here, we're going to add a basic page. This has not changed. I know it looks slightly different, but it is here. So we would just put the only required field, which is the title. And this is what is going to populate your URL for this particular page. So we're going to say 22nd November, 23rd. And then here, you could just add some text. If you have content that you have already developed, you could just use source and you could populate the content here if you're doing fancy things. But if it's just a run-of-the-mill, simple type of content that you're wanting to display, you could just enter it here in the body. Now, there are moderation statuses here at the bottom. You could keep this in a draft. When you keep content in a draft, it has a pink background. That is your visual indicator that your content is not public. So if you wanted to publish the content, you could do it from here. Alternatively, you could just go back to your page and continue to work on it. For the sake of the example, we're going to go ahead and apply. And once this is published, it will create that revision. So again, I know that this might be simplified for the very experienced users in the group, but I want to make sure that I am not leaving people out. Every single time you save content, it creates a revision. The revisions are kept. They're never deleted. In order for you to delete a version of this page, you will have to physically delete that version and it will ask you if you want to do this. This is an action that cannot be undone. So if you do change the page revision, the versioning, that is something that we cannot retrieve for you. So just be mindful that deleting and deleting revisions of a page, those are pieces we cannot undo. The cloning version is still the same. It will provide you with this temporary quick node, but what we ask that you do is that you just update the title and it would just give you the right URL. URLs are generated here. The default is for it to be automatically pulling from the title, but if you needed to change that, you could just deselect this feature, and then it will give you a dialog down here where you can make sure that the URL is what you want it to be. If you need any help with any of these features, like adding menu settings or meta, we're here to help you. Feel free to schedule a session with me or the rest of the team, and we're happy to go into further detail for every single thing that we're touching very lightly today. So again, just wanted to really quickly show you that the revision log is still here. Nothing has changed there. Now, for those of you who are familiar with it, we understand that the basic page has the body. The body is the first section that will be displayed. You do not have to go into the body. We are still carrying over the paragraphs theme with rows and cards. If you wanted to leverage rows and cards only, you could just skip this, just put the title and go back into the other tab and start to build your page. Now, these are the options that we have for rows, exactly what we had in Drupal 9. As we select a row, we have the ability to format that particular row. We could give it a title if we wanted to. Now that we have formatted our row, we have a variety of different options for cards. Everybody good? Does this make sense? Everything is the same. The display remains the same. You can leverage a featured image. If this is a basic page, you cannot put a Jumbotron. However, you could leverage the featured image, and this is going to pull from your media library. So all of the content that is in your media library is available to you to display on a basic page by leveraging the featured image. Relationships, if you have this in the past, it is the same. This is something that we could spend hours talking about. So if you guys wanted to have a specific meeting or session with our team about relationships and search enhancements and web forms, we are happy to do that for you, with you. Okay, so I'm not going to save this page. It is in a draft state, so I'm just going to step away from it real quick. And it should show. Oh, I have it in draft. Let me make it published and let me save. And this will tell you that the page has been created. Now, how do I locate a page or a landing page or a layout that I have created? Again, we just click on this content and it should be the most recently touched item. So it is right here at the top. I think here I did 2 of them, but that's totally okay. But yeah, they will show right here. Alrighty. Now let's add a different content type. We are going to add the new content type, which is the layout. And this you will find under the same menu. It's just further down from where we have the basic page. This one is 23rd November. This just helps me go and clean them up at the end of these training sessions so we can see what we have done in the past. And I am getting ahead of myself. It's the 22nd today. All right. So similar to your rows and cards, when you are creating a layout, the only mandatory field is going to be your title. Okay, so the title is going to inform what that URL looks like, unless you go into the URL and you tell it exactly what you want it to be. From the layout, if I wanted to provide a menu link, this is very similar to rows and cards. I could go ahead and create that. All of my menus are going to populate, and you can select the one that you want to use from here. Okay. If you need for me to slow down, I'm happy to slow down. Additionally, you could look at the authoring information that we spoke about earlier. This page was authored by Cecilia on this date with a date stamp. So this is all the same over here on all of these publishing type, wayfinding type of pieces of your layout. The revision log is still going to be here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of sample text. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have the publish check mark. This is different from the previous experience with rows and cards. So guys, I just wanted to point out that if you guys are spending 6-7 minutes working on a page, just make sure that this publish check mark is there. If you don't want it to be published on your pages in the production environment, just make sure that you just take that out. Okay. Now, if you have not provided a menu link, the page will not be findable or discoverable. But at any rate, just make sure that you realize that you're aware, rather, that with the layouts, the moderation state is slightly different. So the default is to have it published. Okay. The preview is still there, so you can preview your page before you move forward. And this is our little sample text right here. Now, the ribbon is going to be very similar to the ribbon in rows and cards. The only difference is that you're going to see this layouts option, right? In the screen we did before, we had the delete, revisions, clone, and usage. Here you have layouts in between those delete and revisions. So this is where you're going to find your sections and your blocks. Okay. So again, I'm going to scroll down so that you can have a look. The ribbon is almost the same. It's only this active tab in the middle that has been added. Now, you would notice that this first section has this dotted line, this dashed line indicating that this is the body. To make edits to the body, you want to make sure you go into the edit and you make those changes pretty much like you would the body in the rows and cards. To add sections or to add blocks, you have these different type of, they're not like pill buttons, they're just these functions right here. So you're just going to click on the link that will open up this dialog on the right to add a block. Now we have two options. We have a simple block that will allow you to leverage that body piece and the WYSIWYG, and you can add all of the features. If you don't want to go with this particular option, you can add a formatted block, which is this list that we have right here. For simple maps, it is powered by the Google search. So we're just going to call this one, this is the Tyler, Colorado address. And we're just going to scroll to the bottom, and I'm just going to populate our address so that you know where we are. And I'm just going to keep it very simple, and we're going to save it. Now I'm going to scroll down so that you guys can see what it looks like. It is displaying the same map card. It is just called a map block because in layouts we are leveraging sections, and within those sections we're adding blocks. So it's the same functionality. It's just we're calling it slightly different because this is a new and improved experience. Now, this is how I add a block within a section, and you can see how that little dotted or dashed line is surrounding that first section. Now, let us say that I'm not done and I wanted to add some more content. I'm going to go ahead and select the add section to add a separate section to the page. And now it's going to ask me how I want to distribute my blocks. This is similar to how we did it when we had 2 uneven or 3 uneven rows in the previous format of rows and cards with the paragraphs. Here it is just sections, and those sections are going to ask for how many columns you would like. For the sake of the example, let's do 2. And then when it talks about the column widths, this is what is similar to what we called about the distribution. And I know it's the same experience, it's just different labels. We're calling things different because in Drupal 10, this is a totally new and improved version of Drupal. So we're just calling things that you're familiar with slightly different because the functionality is different. Okay, so the column distribution that we're looking here is how your rows were 1/3, 2/3. That's the same deal, but here it is in percentages. So if you wanted for them to be 1/2 and 1/2, so it's 50%. The other options would be 1/3, 2/3, and that was 3367. So it is all slightly different, but it's all the same functionality. Okay. So once I have determined the width, I could just go ahead and add my section. This dialog will go away, and then it will show me the 2 sections. And you will notice that it says configure section 2 at the top. And then you have, again, the little perforated line or the dashed line, however we want to call it. We got to figure out what we're going to call it moving forward. But this area would show you the boundary of your section. It tells you that there isn't anything in your section right now. But one of the interesting things is that if I wanted to take this block, I could do the same. I can open up the dialog and I could create a block. And for that, I could do an icon, I could do an open embed, and I could just enter the open embed here. So the iframe that I'm pulling from my other source, if it is my Google folder, if it is a YouTube video for my most recent, say, board meeting, if you have, bless you, if you have any type of training guides that you have, I know that Some people have public meetings that they have to put forward. So whatever it is that you're embedding, even if it's a map or a widget or some additional content that you're borrowing or taking from another source, another SaaS that you use, just pop it in here and it will display for you. Let me close this out. For media, this is going to point to your media library. So you want to put your title. You don't have to display the title, but these are the blocks that we are little by little adding. And again, this is the beginning of our journey with the Drupal 10. So again, it's going to continue to blossom and become more robust. Okay, so let me real quick. Creating a layout section, editing, locating the layout in the media library. All right, let's go ahead and locate one in the media library so that we know how to edit it. But before I go, I want to make sure that I save because it has this little orange banner that tells me, hey, Cecilia, you're going to do this again. You have unsaved changes. So it tells me in orange, I have unsaved changes. I'm going to save my layout. And there is my page. It does not have a pink background. That tells me that this is in the publish moderation state. Everybody could see this if I were to put this on a link or somewhere else. But let's go ahead and find the layout. So I'm going to click in the content module and it's going to give me the media library. And I know that we have different types of content here. So to make it easier, I'm just going to sort it by layouts. That is just one of the search parameters that we have available in this particular module. So we're going to filter by layouts and we're going to look at a layout that we did in another training session so that we could look at these things. Remember when I mentioned the embed? This is where you will enter. I mean, Smokey, he's a classic, so you don't have to display the title of the block. I chose to display it here, but this is how an embed of a video would look like. And again, this is just NPR, but if you have something that is important to your organization or something that you want to display, this is what it would look like. Now, if we are editing, again, from the web view, you will look at this page and you will edit here and it will give you the back end. Remember, the layout tab is in between deletions and revisions. This will give you the body. If you need to edit the body, you will edit the body from here. To edit the layout, it's just like rows and cards. You go into the rows and cards. Here is the layout and here they are. Now, one of the things that you could do that some people are like, oh my gosh, that is super cool, is to take this block and move it from one row to another one. So you see how I just used my 4 directional arrows and I took the block from one section and popped it onto another section? We couldn't do that with rows and cards. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So that is pretty cool. If I wanted to use my 4 directional arrows and move this one here because I changed my mind, yeah, I think I made it upset. Ooh, I made it upset. Yeah, I did something I wasn't supposed to do. But if I wanted to take this block and move it to this side, there it is. Ah, it doesn't like it. I gotta put it above the block. Brian, do you mind making note of this so that I could share with the devs? Let me take this real quick. All right, I took a screenshot. All righty, let me try to move this one. It did move the tiny desk up, but I'm thinking something must have been wrong with this block that I created, that it didn't like it. But the ability to take the block and to move it from one section to another one might be very helpful to a lot of our users. So here you see that I took the 2 blocks from the previous, from the one below, and I moved them. And once I save my layout, we can view it in the published state. And you will see that I have the simple map. And then underneath we have Smokey. It took the entire block. I think what I did is that I embedded the video with the language. So it's all one and the same because it's one, see? All right. So that's how you will move blocks within sections. How does that sound for everybody? Are we still good, Ryan? Any questions?
I've got quite a few questions coming in about different features with layouts, if you want to go through those.
Sure, let's give it a try. It's still
Perfect.
it's still very dynamic, but go for it.
First one I have is, can we have adding an icon demonstrated, please?
Let me give it a try. Let's just do this. Icon. I think which one is my favorite? So this is Font Awesome. Font icon. Don't think that's how this one. Yeah, this is still a little bit problematic. Yeah, this is a little bit problematic. Brian, do you mind taking note of this so we could tell Alfredo and Barry?
Adding that to my list, right?
All right, so it's a Font Awesome. Let me see if I could do the open book. Add this one. Yeah, this one is still in the works. We received some feedback through the partner support. There's actually a lot of tickets about this editor, the CK editor, that the developers are working as the software engineers are working on as we speak. So these have not been pushed to the production environment. This particular website is in production environment in Drupal 10. So as they're working those tickets that y'all are sending through, they're going to be releasing these out and pushing those at night. But I do not think that this one has been resolved because I cannot add it. Let me save and see what this looks like so that we could have something to provide the devs real quick. See, testing icons is not showing it. So yeah, that didn't pass QA for us right now. So we're gonna bring this up to our team.
Next question I have for you, Cecilia. Are blocks saved in a library to apply to any page / multiple pages, like how blocks behaved in D9? Or are they just page specific like roads and cards are?
No, how I understand it is that this at the bottom here is a collection of all of the blocks that we have created. So for instance, a simple block would populate as it is formatted. However, there are some of them, like the Google Translate, some other blocks that you can access at the page level here within the layouts, not like in Drupal 9 that they were under structure as a block. It's different. Those blocks are accessible here. So yes, right now the blocks are visible two places. We have the ability to view our blocks in the media library now. So all of our blocks are located within here. And you could save them and give them all of the naming conventions that you wanted to give them so that then you could retrieve them when you are in your layouts. I hope this is making sense and answering your question, but those blocks that are available to you will be these blocks here.
The next question I have is about the button feature of the WYSIWYG, if we're looking to add that back.
Yes, I think we have four partner support cases, and the WYSIWYG for Drupal 9 had the button feature and it didn't carry over to the new editor, but there is a ticket in the software engineers on the Drupal dev team, and they are looking into adding that. I know we're prioritizing tickets to make sure that the tickets that have the greater number of requests get addressed. I spoke with Trisha yesterday, and we're making sure that those tickets that have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 reports we address first, and then in that order we are prioritizing. So the button is on the list of things that will need to be addressed.
Next question, are we still able to adjust the width of pages?
The width of the page would be from this side of site to your display being mobile responsive. The feature that I think we're talking about here would be on, and this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what we're looking at is when we're doing rows and cards, when we had the ability to provide the format of the width of the row. And these were the options. This is not something that I have seen in layouts. I'm going to add this to my list of things. Brian, do you mind? Because this is not a feature that I see in layouts, but this is something specific to the rows and cards and the paragraphs in which we have the ability to format the width of the row, not necessarily the width of the page.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Next question, are we able to add a link on an icon? We use this feature a lot in the text.
A link to an icon, kind of
Yes.
this one here? Yeah, that is something that is, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if they're talking about icons in general or icon cards. I would assume icon cards, but correct me if I'm wrong, Kayla. Yep, icon cards.
Yeah, those are coming back. That's on the improvements to the layouts, because it is one of those blocks that will be added. So yeah, definitely.
Perfect. We have a question from Miguel here. I am only seeing layouts on our site, but we can't currently add any layout type of content. I think there's a little bit of confusion around here between the layouts that's directly on the content tab and adding a new layout type. So if you want to make that distinguished so that people understand that you'll see layouts in 2 different places on that content tab.
Okay, all right, sure. So I think this is a funky thing from because we added Drupal 9, we kind of smashed it into Drupal 10. Drupal 9 used to call layouts the things that we saved in our library, right? It created a template, and their name for template was layout. And I think that this is causing a lot of confusion because in Drupal 10, the layout content type is a content type. Okay, so if I click here, you're going to see layouts that were back in Drupal 9, your templates. Okay, so I know this is as confusing as things could get, and we're hyper aware of this. But in Drupal 9, when you created a page and you like the page, you could save that as a template, which was labeled layout. Okay, so that is not going away because we brought 9 into 10, right? So in the folders that you're going to have in your media library, just to be clear, when I click on content, is it Mr. Tejada, Miguel? When I click on content, and I look at my folders within the media library, because people did put templates out there, we have to keep this. So these are your templates for pages that I like that I want to use over and over again. So let's call these templates. They're labeled layouts. Once your site is fully migrated over to Drupal 10, upgraded to the new, better version, to the most recent, you will look at your content module, Miguel, and then you will add content. And the content type that is called layouts will be accessible to you here. And here you can start building. When you're in the content module and you're in the media library and you sort By content type, these are the content types that are going to populate, not your old templates from Drupal 9. And I am trying to go slow so that I don't create more confusion. But the content tab contains all of your layout content types, your basic pages, your landing pages, your events, all of that good stuff. There happens to be a folder that holds your Drupal 9 templates that is also labeled layout. I knew this was going to come, but yeah. Does that clarify, Miguel?
Yes, I gotta thank you for explaining. We will wait until we are migrated to see the actual layout content.
And Miguel, if you need for me to do a session with your team, the link, I can provide you a link to that, or you could just hit us up on partner support or just reply to one of the emails or phone calls, and I'll get you that link so that we could come together and explain this. It is just very confusing that the new content type is the label for a previous feature that we had.
Perfect. Next question I have, Cecilia, is regarding some features around rows and cards that used to exist in D9, such as radius corners, image placement features, image library navigation, etc. Is there kind of a plan to restore some of those features?
We have tickets in the partner support about some of those. If you have not provided me with a partner support ticket about the specific one, please go ahead and do that. In the rows and cards environment, we were able to manipulate our images differently from the editor, right? So if we were to go into the editor and we were to embed an image, this one is already migrated. We had the ability to right click and do different features, different functions here. This is what it looks like at the moment. So yes, we are aware these are the placement options within the paragraph that are available. The one that we had in the past was different. If you allow me 1 second, I will show you what it looks like so that I can provide clarity. Give me 1 moment, please. I'm trying to figure out if we have a site that is still in D9. Okay, I do not have a site that is in D9, but this is the feature that we had in the past, right? These are the features that we are looking to bring back to the editor. This is where we have the ability to not just embed it, but we could treat it as a thumbnail and then apply different image styles. Does that answer the question? We are aware and we are working on it.
And then the next question that I have, sorry, I'm looking through really quick.
No, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you.
Will the link window go back to showing display text in the mini window and also bring back the targeting of the clicked link?
That was reported, I think, 2 times in partner support. So we do have a ticket for the software engineers for our Drupal development team to look at. So we are aware and they're working on that.
I've gotten just some other people reporting some issues that they found. It looks like controller Command Z to undo when working in the source code doesn't work. So I'm taking a note of that so we can check with the developers.
I think Olga, yeah, DPA reported that. Olga reported that to us. Control Z not working, and there's a ticket for that. But yeah.
We've got some feedback about the kind of terminology that's used around different features of D10's a little confusing. So if we can find ways to clarify that or change that in any capacity.
Totally agree. I totally agree, especially the layouts one is one that I was just waiting for the perfect. Yeah, it is very, we might have opportunities to relabel things from D9 or on the D10 side of it to make sure that we are able to provide you with a more I want to say intuitive because it's technology, but a more user-friendly experience, a little bit more intuitive. So yeah, we are aware of these, and these are things that are ticketed for the development team to work on, since we're so close to finishing the upgrade. So.
And then we've got a couple questions here about submitting tickets to partner support. The first one is there a list of existing tickets in partner support so I don't waste time submitting a ticket for something that you're already aware of?
You're not wasting time. Again, you know what I'm going to say about feedback. We need the feedback so that we can see the impact on the platform. So yes, we have, after the upgrade, we expected for the activity in the queue to go up and mushroom. But if you have an issue that you haven't reported, then we don't know to address it. So I really appreciate your mindfulness about the number of tickets that we might be receiving. And at the same time, that feedback informs the prioritization process that we're going through. Because if we see that this is something that is impacting 5, 6, 7 people, we could then have that as a prioritized ticket to fix, and then we move on to the things that don't have a lot of reports. So yes, we appreciate your concern about the number of tickets, but go ahead and put in your ticket anyway. We might, you will get a notification from our service desk team to acknowledge that we did receive. And then one of us project managers is going to get back to you and let you know that we have it on the docket for the software engineers to look at.
And then on the other side of that kind of same question, someone else asked, would you recommend submitting a ticket for a known issue? I was not, but if it's necessary to bump it up in priority, perhaps I should.
Well, we have identified that the post-upgrade number of issues is not super long. But if it is something that we have already reported, again, go ahead and put in your ticket anyways. That way, Alexa, Brian, myself, Sunny, we could get back to you and say it is resolved, and then you will be notified about the issue being resolved. So again, I really appreciate everybody's mindfulness about the partner support, but we would like to have that opportunity to reach back to you and say, we heard your feedback, this is the resolution, and close that loop. So you don't feel that your feedback is going into a black box or anything like that. So long way to say, please send your feedback. We will get to you, even if it's a known issue.
And then it just seems like we have some additional feedback about making people aware of the issues that we know are problems on D10, so that they're aware of the issues that exist within the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. We could continue to do that through these conversations so that we can workshop them together. Like, for instance, the Phantasm issue was not on my radar. So we just tested it and we know that Phantasm now needs to be addressed. But yes, we could take this offline and see how Tyler, the Office of Project Management, wants to address it. How do we communicate this out to people, or what will be helpful? But yes, definitely, we could use this forum to communicate out the known issues. But as those get resolved, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, it will all be normalized.
And that's all I'm seeing for questions thus far, unless anyone has anything else they want to put in the chat.
Or they can raise their hand as well. They could.
Or raise your hand, yep.
Yeah. All right, well, again, oh, go ahead. I see a hand.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify what I'm talking about. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Submitting a ticket to partner support for every single issue that I'm coming across in layouts, and there are many, is significant investment of my time. So for me to spend that time doing that, and you already know about those issues, I feel is not beneficial to me, given my history of responses from partner support, because frequently I have not found them ultimately that actionable. So I'm just trying to use my time wisely. And so like, if you all are already aware of something, I don't want the idea that like, just because you only got one ticket about something, that no one else is experiencing that same issue to be in the ether. Like, because that's like, I feel like at this point, there are so many issues that if I was to send a partner support ticket for each and every single one of them, like that would take a significant amount of time. And you already know what those problems are. So I just want to like signal boost, hey, all these known issues, there are people out there who are experiencing the same issues, and maybe they're not submitting partner support tickets because they know everyone is experiencing the same issues and is already submitted a lot of those. So I just wanted to make that clear, that like silence is not like everything's great. So I just wanted to clarify that, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. And we appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, we appreciate that feedback. I certainly recommend that you submit any issues that you are noticing to partner support, just so we have a documented record of that and we can make sure we do work it through to resolution. You don't have to submit 10 different tickets. You can put them all under a single one. We have been reviewing those in detail and making sure that we are pulling out items individually and working them if they are lumped into a single ticket. But it does make it a little bit more useful and helpful for us if they are separated on the back end. It just saves us a little time of doing that extra filtering. But we certainly don't want the process to be burdensome to you all. We just want that transparency of what you all are noticing with your sites so that we can get those bugs resolved and addressed ASAP. So.
Thank you. And that's Alexa Davis. She's the director of the Office of Project Management. We have about 5 additional minutes before we close. Do you guys have any questions, any feedback? Thank you, Danielle, for your feedback. Well, if not, again, thank you so much. Thank you, Sonia. Just wanted to remind you guys that we have a scheduled Power User Group on December the 13th. We always try to do it on a Wednesday. We don't want to do meetings on a Friday. So I try to schedule everything on a Wednesday, but we have our next scheduled Power User Group on December the 13th. It will be a 100% digital meeting. So it will be the same platform. We're going to use Microsoft Teams. But again, it will be December the 13th, and that is a Wednesday at our usual time. So I know that everybody will be out for the holiday for Thanksgiving. I hope that you have a safe and meaningful time with your loved ones. If it's Friendsgiving, just have a good time with your friends. Be safe out there. Know that we are here to support you. So please send those tickets into partner support. And if you needed to schedule time, just ask for time for us to have a one-on-one, and I am happy to provide you with my availability for that. I'm not going to pepper you with emails. So when we're back from holiday in December, I'm going to send out that meeting invitation reminder for the PUG. And again, we're trying to capture as many users in the Drupal community as possible. So feel free to share the Microsoft link with those individuals in your organization that might benefit from being part of the conversation. If you have smaller organizations that use Drupal and they don't participate, please help us share the word so that more people attend these meetings and we can spread the knowledge that we are gathering as a collective. Hopefully we could be in a point that this is a collaboration space and that all users will be finding value of these meetings. So again, this is all I have. Let me see if there's, Alexa, if you're still on the call, do you have any additional feedback for the larger group?
No, I do not. I just appreciate everybody taking the time to join us and definitely continue submitting what you're noticing with your sites. We will definitely work those as we can with urgency. So appreciate it, and everyone have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And do we have Dave on the call, or is he still there? Do we have anything from Dave?
No, just echo what everybody said. Have a great holiday. Appreciate your patience and contribution. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, team. Have a good one.